Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Welcome indeed to Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. This is the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Los Angeles Galaxy, Angel City Football Club, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League Zone, Empire Strykers. Hello and welcome to another great episode. I'm your host, J.R. Liebert, affectionately known as The Scarf. Joining me on today's episode, first and foremost, the former Canadian women's national teamer and Canadian Soccer Hall of Famer, Cara Lang Romero. Cara, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Happy to be here, as always.
So happy to have you back, of course. And then one half of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast hosting team, Ananda Karana. Ananda, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Hey, guys. It's good to be back.
It's going to be a fun one. I want to remind everybody, first of all, thanks for joining us on a great episode, but don't forget, subscribe to the podcast on all your podcasting platforms, and make sure you head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the Soccer in 60 YouTube page. It's another week and tons of MLS action to talk about. 2 games each on the week for both LAFC and the Galaxy, as well as 3 more to look forward to. A whimper of an offensive performance in Orange County, a recap of international duty for Angel City, and some awards for 2 of the Empire Strikers' biggest stars. And we get to interview the birthday girl. Angel City Football Club midfielder Nealy Martin joins us here on Soccer in 60. So much to talk about yet again. And of course, very happy to have Cara and Ananda both on the show with us. It's going to be a fun one. But first, let's check in with our friends over at Omnitrans. In partnership with the Empire Strykers, experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strykers match. All right, let's head up to BMO Stadium and talk about LAFC. 2 matches since we last aired, including one that ended just before we hit record on this show. Cara and I were both in attendance in that one over at BMO Stadium. But let's go back a match, and LAFC got a good old-fashioned beatdown at the hands of the San Jose Earthquakes. A 0-0 match at the half turned into an absolute rout, 4-1 in favor of the Earthquakes. 3 goals in less than 6 matches blew the absolute roof off the result, and LAFC's once impenetrable defense all of a sudden rendered porous. Cara, let me ask you first, going into that, when you see a club give up 3 goals in under 7 minutes of playing time like that, when it just seems everything's tilting downhill and just going wrong there, what happened in those 6 minutes for LAFC?
That's tough, especially because that game was pretty evenly matched until that 6-minute spell. So it's just, I mean, it's surprising that a team of this quality could all sort of fall asleep at the same time all together and it end up in 3 goals down. It's disappointing to see. I think that everybody expects more from that team for sure. And it's unfortunate because, as I said, the game was pretty even up to that point. And even after that, it wasn't, aside from those 6 minutes, the score didn't really reflect the entirety of the game. But yeah, I mean, they just fell asleep. And I think that it's more of a symptom of the state of the team as a whole, just because they're tired, and not just physically, but mentally. And when you're mentally exhausted, these are the kind of things that happen. And I think a lot of the onus is on Marc Dos Santos and his lack of rotation, not just in that game, but the previous league games. With the fixture congestion that LAFC is facing, it's really caught up to them. And Marc Dos Santos has not used the depth that we've been praising this LAFC team for having. in the moments when he could have, and now it's come to bite them in the butt. And I think that that's exactly what that loss to San Jose was. And now they're in a tough spot. Marc Dos Santos is in a tough spot because he doesn't really have an opportunity to rotate the way he probably needs to ahead of Toluca now, because they've also lost tonight's match. So they need this win next weekend, or this coming weekend in the league. So it's a hard place for LAFC to be in. And it's surprising, I think, above all else.
Yeah, Ananda, I know this is something that you've also experienced over the last couple of seasons with the Galaxy, a very congested early start to the season. We're talking the most congested in LAFC history, but nobody's going to feel bad for LAFC, right? I mean, these are problems that they created with the success that they've had in the long run there. So, Ananda, if it's not rotation, what Kara is saying, because you can't rest guys when you need them for these big matches like this, if it's not rotation, what other possibility is there other than to just grit and get through this run that they're in right now?
That's just it, right? And that's where Kara just mentioned it. You look at the head coach. I mean, everybody's looking at the head coach right now for the LA Galaxy, and it's been that way. And Greg Vanney has gotten a lot of pelters with the lack of managing the squad effectively, also Scarf. So now you're going to look to the head coach of LAFC and to see, okay, what in terms of not only rotations, but man management, team management. There's a lot of guys that in the last couple, especially some of the defenders, Scarf, they've dropped off in form. I don't know what reason that is. A team that has it was like 7 clean sheets in the beginning of the year. It's just a huge drop off that came out of nowhere. And Hugo Lloris, like, he can make as many saves as he can, and he can save you in a couple of those games, but you can't rely on Hugo to keep saving your butts, especially a team like San Jose. Man, I let me tell you this too, guys. Like, I'm so impressed with what San Jose is doing this year. They're now the Supporter Shield league leaders, or the Supporter Shield standing leaders. And I think we've got to also give credit to the opposition. But going back to LAFC, that's just it, Scarf. Like, LAFC has to figure out, Marc Dos Santos has to figure out, how does he manage the squad over the next couple of games? And also, like, what is that cure? Like, what is he going to do about that defense? Or is it going to be a little bit more of a defensive strategy now moving forward, especially against a team like Toluca? LAFC has their work cut out for them for sure.
Yeah, and kudos. It's not like it was some schmuck on the other side. That's Bruce Arena, probably the best to ever do it in North America. You're talking about a guy who, if you look at the ingredients he's got in the cupboard to cook with, you might not think the meal would be that good, but what he was able to do in this one, they looked absolutely fantastic. Before we move on, Kara, I want to ask you about one player who really did look like the bright spot out there for LAFC, subbed on late, and we finally saw that top-end speed from the Maple Messi himself, Jacob Schaffelberg. I want to get your thoughts on Schaffelberg and how he looked in limited minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a spark for sure, and that's exactly what he is for the Canadian men's national team as well. He's that guy that you can rely on to come and change the game just with his speed alone and with his attacking threat. And I think that it was great to see him in that role, and I think that that is the role he will play for LAFC going forward, and a role that, as we're seeing, as this team needs more rotation, they are going to need him further on into the season if they continue to have multiple games per week. But he's creating the threat, he's creating chances, but I would like to see some better service into the box from him. I think his service is just a little off. I know that he can provide better service. I think the timing is off. I think part of that is also the runs into the box, or a lot of what LAFC is doing right now, especially in the final third, is disjointed. So I think it's both. It's on both ends. The runs into the box the timing of the runs is not spot on, and the service into the box is not spot on, at least from Schaffelberg in particular. So I think when they can start to fine tune that, we'll see him in particular performing even better for this team.
And Kara, I'm going to come back to you about the offense, because we're going to switch over to this Rapids match that just ended not too long before we hit record. And then I want to ask Ananda about the bounce back they had on defense. But you're talking about an LAFC squad who, over the last, 6 matches or so, had outscored the Rapids 18-0 at home at BMO Stadium. So if any club was a bounce-back opponent, as LAFC saw on the calendar, they must have been happy to see the Rapids there. So LAFC still hasn't given up a goal at home to the Rapids since 2021. But, Kara, like you were saying, everything seemed a little disjointed. I want to throw one stat out there for all the stat heads that listen to this podcast. Look, first and foremost, the team leader in Colorado had played 760 minutes on the season for the Rapids. That would put him 11th on LAFC in minutes. We're talking about a player like Nkosi Tafari, who's played 500 more minutes than their leading minute guy. And we're talking about April 22nd, 23rd here. So I just want to ask you, is this just their legs just being that tired, Cara, that they did look completely disjointed on offense tonight?
I think so. I mean, they were disconnected, out of sync, sloppy, especially in the final third. At least one bright spot was that at least defensively, they weren't as sloppy as they were against San Jose. But like the amount of time Son and Bouanga were dispossessed was criminal. It was so uncharacteristic of both of them. There was one point in the game when Son was unable to complete like maybe his like fourth or fifth pass where he was just playing it into the shins of the Colorado defense, where I thought like, am I watching the Space Jam? Have the Monstars taken over Son's body? Because this is so unlike him. And the only thing that I don't think it's confidence, because I don't think Son Heung-min is a guy that's going to suffer from a lack of confidence. I think it's frustration. I think it's fatigue, both mental and physical. But it needs to change quickly, because when Son and Bouanga are not firing on all cylinders, this team doesn't look good.
Yeah, and our producer Gunnar wants me to make sure I get to the massive match that LAFC has coming up. And I don't think he's talking about the game against Minnesota on Saturday in Minnesota, even though James Rodriguez should be playing in that one. They do have a massive CONCACAF Champions Cup match at BMO Stadium against Toluca on Wednesday, April 29th. And on that same token, Ananda, how important was it that they were able to keep the clean sheet tonight? Keep the clean sheet on Wednesday against the Colorado Rapids in that being able to shore up, what was a very porous back line against San Jose.
Yeah, early this season, at least, that's been one of the foundations that Marc Dos Santos has built this team on, is a really strong defense. Again, I echoed the 7 clean sheets earlier, but Scarf, this game is also about fine margins. They were an Aaron Long, ricochet away, or a couple of brilliant saves by Hugo Lloris in the first half against Navajo away from giving up that first goal, right, and being on the back foot. So again, this game is fine margins, but in the end of the day, credit to LAFC, and that's something that they have to now build upon, is that strong defense, because that 4-1, it needs to be looked at as an anomaly versus a normalcy for this team.
Yeah, what Marc Dos Santos called it a bad day at the office, I believe, in the press conference. Ananda, let me ask you what you saw from LAFC tonight. You just saw Galaxy take on Toluca. Is that going to be good enough?
Good question. Like I said, I'm convinced that Toluca, if they're not the favorites, they're pretty up there for the favorites to win this competition. So LAFC has to ratchet up their performance levels, by a couple levels, because, granted, the Galaxy got absolutely smashed 7-2 in aggregate. LAFC is going to put up a better fight, but Toluca with Paulinho, with the form that he's in, man, he can literally single-handedly win a game for Toluca, and that's the challenge that LAFC has.
Yeah, Cara, I have to ask you, going into that first leg, no Denis Bouanga, no Eddie Segura. What does LAFC have to do to circle the wagons around the massive losses of 2 of their most capped and best players on the pitch?
This might sound very controversial, but I think Denis Bouanga needs a rest. And I think that the only way he's going to get it is forced, because clearly he played the whole match tonight against Colorado in a game where it would have been great for him. I mean, ideally, they would have scored an early goal and been able to take off Son and Bouanga. I'm sure that was probably the ideal plan and what they were hoping would happen. It didn't. Son came out. Bouanga still played 90 minutes at a time when he needs to rest. So I also think, if they're going to have him in one of the games, it's better that they have him away at Toluca. So, if it's not the worst case scenario for Bouanga to be out. Segura, I mean, this team has depth, as I already mentioned. They also have Aaron Long now back healthy, started in this match against Colorado. So I don't think they need to worry too much about missing Segura for that match. I think the back line is strong enough. I'm more concerned about whether or not LAFC can find the back of the net against Toluca. I think that is the biggest concern for me.
Yeah, it's been a while since they've put one in the back of the net, certainly. Look, we're talking about depth for LAFC, but now it's time to talk about the Galaxy. And unfortunately, depth fast eroding down there at Dignity Health Sports Park. Look, I think you can call the result against Dallas a good result, right? Falling behind 2-0, turning that deficit into a 2-2 draw. Look, that's a player like Peter Musa is going to get his from time to time. But I think there were lots of good things, right? And Ananda, especially because of how quickly Galaxy was able to find the answers and find goals. If you watch the first half, you saw all the scoring. So Dallas goes down 2-0, but Sanabria and I think much more importantly, Joseph Paintsel gets on the scoring sheet there. What was it like to see the response from the Galaxy as quickly as it happened, Ananda?
Yeah, it was positive. And even for Galaxy fans that are, maybe on the Vanny out train or do not believe in this team or have little belief or faith, it was a positive sign to see that response. I've said this multiple times on our show, Scarf, which is, the Galaxy since 2024, they haven't showed that belief, that fight, that determination to come back in games when you're in negative game states, when you're down a goal or two early in the match. It seems like at least 2025 and this season, they've just folded. And so that at least for the 90 minutes, or let's just say 45 in this case, it was a good sign. But the thing that Galaxy fans are hoping for was, okay, we need to see more of it. And unfortunately, at least in today's game, it didn't prove out to be. But at least in the 90 minutes in Dallas, we saw a little bit of that.
Yeah, and Carl, we've talked about one of the X factors, one of the true special talents in Major League Soccer is the speed, the motor of one Joseph Paintsel, and seeing him able to be not just back on the pitch, but for his 73 minutes, he was no doubt the player of the match for the Galaxy. He had the game-tying goal. He had an assist on the Lucas Sanabria goal. To be able to see Joseph Paintsel start doing Joseph Paintsel things, especially in light of a couple things that we're going to talk about on the injury front in just a minute, how important is that if Greg Vanney wants to keep that seat from completely burning up underneath him?
Yeah, Galaxy definitely missed Joseph Paintsel while he was out, and that goal shows exactly why. It was a beautiful through ball from Peck through to Paintsel as well. So to see those two combining, I think is crucial for the success of this Galaxy team. And the way that Paintsel just blasted it over the keeper's head, he made no mistake hammering that one home. And then his celebration after, you could just see it was sort of like this huge release of frustration, like one of those moments you love to see it. And seeing him back on the pitch, I think, was a huge moment of relief for the team as well. And I think it bodes well. It's like it's a good sign that he's getting on the score sheet right away after coming back, and as well that him and Peck, as I said, are combining, because I think that is really the key for this Galaxy team to turn things around.
Yeah, and Ananda, we were talking pre-show. It would have been very exciting to see the frontline trio of Joseph Paintsel, Gabriel Peck, and Joao Klaus, but you had just been telling us some injury news on Joao Klaus. The number 9 that they brought in to kind of shore up everything. What's going on with Joao, Ananda?
Yeah, unfortunately, the third DP for the LA Galaxy is going to be out for a considerable amount of time. Greg mentioned post-match today that he has to undergo surgery on a ligament on his foot. Unfortunately, he was injured. I believe it happened in the second half in the Dallas match, and he is going to be out till probably after the World Cup. So no Joao Klaus for the next 7 games or so for the Galaxy before the World Cup. So, man, and DP utilization is so important in this league. And now you're down. Well, you were down Ricky already before, but now you're down Joao Klaus for the rest, or at least for the considerable future. On top of Scarf Nascimento being out indefinitely as well. So the Galaxy have no true number 9, and they're going to have to rely on Joseph Paintsel and Marco Royce as a false 9 for the next 7 games or so. So a lot to sift through for Greg Vanney.
Yeah, I mean, look, luckily they've got one of the truly supremely talented players in all of Major League Soccer in Gabriel Peck, who wore the backpack for quite a bit of the season last year. He's going to have to put that thing right back on again. Columbus Crew made Galaxy wait just a little bit to get this one underway. If you've been out to a match in Columbus, wait a little bit and the weather will change. Unfortunately, it was about 2 hours of a weather delay. And I'll start first with Ananda real quick. The third straight match that Galaxy go down 2-0 before there's any type of offensive performance. How much longer can these slow starts continue under Greg Vanney until, look, what's it going to take for them to make a change?
Yeah, it can't continue much longer. And, we just did an instant reaction right after the post match, and even the fans in the chat were like, why doesn't he, Greg's saying these things in the post-match presser, but why aren't you saying these things to the players, during the match, or coming up with the tactical changes if you're seeing something? Look, the reality is the Galaxy were completely outworked, outmatched for a majority of this game, and 2-1 is probably honestly a flattering scoreline to the Galaxy. So when it comes to, the players' preparation in terms of the high press that Columbus was enforcing a really, really high press, and the Galaxy just couldn't get out of it. So in those situations, obviously you're going to look to your head coach to make sure that you find solutions to work out of those things. And Greg said a really, really interesting comment in his post-match. He said some of the guys were walking instead of jogging and jogging instead of running in certain situations. And the follow-up to that was, well, is that about effort or is that about something else? And I think Greg was alluding to the fact that some of these players, especially in the midfield, were just struggling to adapt to the pace of the game and the pressure that some of the Columbus players were putting on them. They were just losing a lot of their individual duels. And so some of it comes down to an individual performance, but some of it, Scarf, too, is about the connectedness of the team. And again, the togetherness. So just a lot going on and a lot to sift through, analyzing the Galaxy's performance, but this can't continue much longer.
Yeah, Carl, one shot on target. It's the goal from Gabriel Peck in this one. And I think they were a crossbar away from actually eking out a 2-2 result in this one. But I have to ask you, Kara, when you see a team and what Ananda's talking about, right? The other side of that question is them asking Greg Vanney, hey, have you lost the locker room? Have you lost the players out there on the pitch? He is only a couple of seasons removed from hoisting MLS Cup, but is it possible that Galaxy we're only April 22nd, April 23rd right now on the calendar, but is it possible that he's lost the locker room already?
It's definitely possible. And when we're talking about players not putting forth the effort that you would expect them to be putting forth in a moment in your season where you have the opportunity to really turn things around, this was a missed opportunity for the Galaxy. Columbus had a worse record coming into this match, but Galaxy made them look better than they are by coughing up the ball so much in their own half. Galaxy had a chance here to build momentum after a win in Austin, a draw in Dallas. Think of how different this conversation would be right now, just about the future of the Galaxy's season, had they been coming off a win or even a draw, as you said. For me, yes, the midfield was an issue, but defensively, Maya Yoshida at this point is becoming a bit of a liability. Not a bit. He's becoming a liability. That first goal for Columbus starts with a terrible giveaway from Yoshida. That's 2 games in a row now where he's made major mistakes that have led to goals. The first goal for Dallas started with a bad back pass from Yoshida that Musa was all over and puts away with ease. So there's a lot of questions on the entire pitch right now for the Galaxy, and team selection questions that I have for Greg Vanney that I'm sure he's going to be answering for the next week.
Yeah, and unfortunately having to do that without having Joao Klaus is a possibility. And I want to ask you, I believe we saw Julian Aude come off relatively early in this one too. Was there any update on the Julian Aude injury or anything to look at for that?
Yeah, great question. It's funny because Rob was like, you know what? I forgot to ask about Julian Aude because it happened so early in the match, and there were so many things that happened after that and even in the presser. So no update from Greg yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. And then remember, guys, Eric Tommy is out for a little while as well. So there's a lot happening on the injury table. Again, a lot for Greg to sift through. and a big match coming up at RSL on Kobe Jones Statue Day. And RSL is they're a team on the roll right now. They're in a positive way. So it'll be interesting to see how the Galaxy respond this weekend at home.
Yeah, they've got the young kids in Real Salt Lake really doing it for them. They look really good right now. But you mentioned it. It's Kobe Jones Statue Night. So as upset as many of the Galaxy faithful might be, they can't really plan a walkout or a boycott or anything on Kobe Jones Statue Night. Can they, Ananda?
Well, they put up a stinker of a performance on Landon Donovan bobblehead nights, and the fans had a few choice words, especially from Victoria Block. So I don't know, Scarf. I wouldn't put it past them. The Galaxy fans, they're really passionate, prideful about this team. They will make their voices heard for sure.
All right, well, that's Sunday, April 26th. Ananda, thank you for making your voice heard. We appreciate you as always here on Soccer in 60. We'll say bye to Ananda for this one. And I think it's time to check in with our good friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team. There I am, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, head on over to nationalcore.org. All right, let's talk a little bit of Empire Strykers. Yes, the Ron Newman Cup finals are happening. It was a big win for the San Diego Sockers over the Milwaukee Wave in the first leg. Coming up on Friday will be leg 2. So we will be talking about the eventual winner of the Ron Newman Cup, which is, of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's Indoor Cup final on our next episode. So make sure you tune into that. It's San Diego Sockers, Milwaukee Wave. But they also announced their end of season awards, did the MASL. And a couple of players, no surprise to anybody who follows the league, were given awards from the Empire Strykers. The MASL's second team, which they announced 12 players on their first and second team of 6, and then they announced their second team, which is the next 12 players. So basically, you're looking at the 24 All-Stars. If you were to create an All-Star squad from these 24 players, they would have to include Berto Palmer and Justin Stinson, who both made MASL's second team. Again, these are 12 standout players from across the league's 8 teams. All Berto did this season, and we've talked about it several times here on this show, a team high 14 assists. And remember, this is now the second straight year he led the Empire Strykers and helpers. He had 21, I believe, last season. The third most blocks in the league with 45, and that's with some questionable statistics in Kansas City. And oh, by the way, all he did was coach the Empire Strykers to 3 straight victories to close out the regular season and stamp their ticket to the playoffs. You ask anybody involved in the entire league of the Major Arena Soccer League, and they will tell you what an incredible season, an incredible player, and an incredible person that Berto Palmer is for this franchise. The Empire Strykers definitely owe a great debt of gratitude for the incredible season that Berto helped guide them through. And look, free agent, so who knows? We'll see. But the Stinger, Justin Stinson, though maybe not the eye-popping offensive numbers that we are accustomed to seeing from the Stinger, he still led the club in points with 27, tied for the team-leading goals with 15 with Munir Alami, and second to Berto in assists with 12, averaged just over a point per contest. And I think more importantly, if you look at the feel-good moments of this season, I think the one that's really the cherry on top is when he became the franchise's all-time leading scorer with 186 points after scoring the game winner late in the regular season, not just against the St. Louis Ambush, but at the St. Louis Ambush. And sometimes the soccer gods come together to make a feel-good story come true. Well, Justin Stinson from the St. Louis area. So the fact that he was able to become the Empire Strykers' all-time leading scorer, this is a kid who, though he started his career with the St. Louis Ambush in 2017-18 and 18-19. He was a member of the Ontario Fury. That's right. The Strykers were the Ontario Fury first. He played several seasons under the Fury banner before these last four now with the Empire Strikers. So kudos to both Justin Stinson and Berto Palmer for this award, again, making the MASL's second team on the season. Congratulations. And now it's time to throw it to a fantastic interview. Our producer, Gunnar, sat down with the birthday girl, Angel City midfielder Nealy Martin, for a fantastic interview. We're very happy to welcome Nealy Martin to the Soccer in 60 interview family. Let's head on over to that interview between Gunnar and Nealy right now.
All right, thank you, guys. I am joined now by someone who is instantly one of my favorite guests ever on the show, not only because she's making time for us on her birthday, but because her story is one of grit and determination. After an excellent career at the University of Alabama, she went undrafted in 2020 and went to Wales to study and try to keep playing. Later that year, she joined Racing Louisville via an open tryout, and she has since become one of the league's most respected, most versatile midfielders. This season, she's started all 4 games for high-flying Angel City. Happy birthday, and thank you so much for joining us, Nealy Martin.
Happy to be here. There's nothing special about 28, so I guess this is what's special about 28.
Let me tell you, at 42, there's a lot special about 28. I wish I could go back to 28. But first of all, I have to start by saying, again, how much I appreciate you being willing to hang out with me for a few minutes on your birthday. I should mention we're recording this on Wednesday, April 22nd. That's why it's your birthday. And you just came out of team training, which got me wondering, what is a training session on your birthday like? Is there a cake? Does everybody sing happy birthday? What was different today?
I got sung to 3 times, so had to stand there and hear it 3 times. And honestly, this group just makes you feel like family. So it really is just like such a homey feel being able to be here on my birthday.
Yeah, amazing. And don't worry, I'm not going to sing for you. I'll just go to my next question instead. Speaking of training, the NWSL has been on pause for the international break. I'm really curious about that. ACFC had a total of, and I hope this is correct, a total of 9 players, I think, away with their national teams. How did that impact what you guys did as a group? Did it change the dynamic because non-starters really had a chance to show themselves? Was it a chance for coaches to maybe work more with the younger players? What was training like with the internationals not there?
Yeah, good question. I think we had 10 away actually with their national teams. So when those things happen, you can choose one of 2 things. One, you can just say, scratch it, like we don't have enough players to figure this out or to get better. But here, honestly, I feel like for me personally, I made a lot of strides in those 2 weeks, and you get to really hone in on the details that, you might miss in team training or you have to go do on your own. So it's actually a really cool opportunity. You just have to take hold of it. And I think our staff did a great job while those players were gone. And also, we get to build up our minutes, and, players that may not have seen the field get to build in minutes. And it's just a really great opportunity, especially going into these next months where we have 3 game weeks and we'll need our full roster.
Yep, that makes sense. Before we talk a little bit more about the present, I'd like to go back to a key point in your past. I mentioned in the intro that you went undrafted at first and decided to go to Wales to study and try to keep playing in some shape or form. That's fascinating to me. How did you come to make such a big decision, and what was that time like over there?
Yeah, so obviously it was the height of COVID, and I didn't really know anything about like what it meant to have an agent or, how you even became a pro. There were just so many things I didn't know. And so I literally just got an email in my inbox that was like, you can go study abroad and keep playing. And I was like, yeah, why not? No, so for me, I prayed about it and just felt like the right thing to do. And I mean, it was really tough, to be honest with you, because it was during COVID. And for me, relationships are so key to, how I function as a human. And it was hard to build those, especially in a different country. Was in quarantine for 51 days in total. Actually got COVID over there, missed my flight home. So it was definitely, a tough experience, but I think I grew a lot as a human being. And it kind of, prepared me for the future and the next steps that, were ahead of me.
Mm-hmm. I just decided after that answer, we'll need an hour-long interview at some point to kind of go in depth on that. But at the end of 2020, you find out about an open tryout that Racing Louisville is holding, right? You sign up, you earn a preseason roster spot at first, you get signed, you instantly see significant minutes on the field. What a cool story that is, first of all. When you went to Wales and then later when you prepared for this open tryout, did you always feel that you belonged at the highest level? Did you maybe even have a chip on your shoulder that gave you a bit of a competitive edge?
Honestly, I went into that open tryout like I literally have nothing to lose. I was actually interviewing for a staffing job as well on the side. So yeah, I was just literally like, I have nothing to lose. I love this game. And it was coming down with snow, actually. The field was icy. I was in shorts. I was just having a really good time being around people again. And yeah, I knew I had things to work on, but I wanted to really show, my work ethic and that I would do whatever it took to make it to the next level.
Yeah, amazing. There's our other one hour long interview that we can go in depth on that. But you then joined ACFC last fall from Gotham FC, where you made 56 appearances in just under 3 full seasons. In late 2025, Angel City head coach Alex Strauss had just arrived and was trying to kind of on the fly implement his very intricate system. We've heard a lot about how much of a challenge that was. Your team has looked very good in early 2026. How did having a full preseason help you guys? Can you give me maybe a specific example of something that just needed more time and couldn't be rushed?
Yeah, I think anytime a new coach comes in and wants to implement an entire system and their tactics and their style of play, it's important to have those 6 to 8 weeks, because you have to layer in tactics. It's not like you're going to come in and throw the kitchen sink at somebody and expect them to be able to execute it. And Alex knew that from the get-go, so he did what he could at the end of last year. But the staff has done a really great job of layering in the specifics, and we still haven't gone over every single detail that we can implement in the system we play. And we haven't completely nailed, the way we want to play. So there's still a lot of room to grow. And I think that's the beauty of a really good tactical structure.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Let's stay on that for a second. 4 games in, you guys have 3 wins from those 4 and have scored the most goals in the NWSL, despite having played one fewer game, I should say, than the top 3 in the table right now. Kevin Baxter of the LA Times last week said that he thought Alex Strauss and sporting director Mark Parsons had lied to him prior to the first game because they kept saying how, we just want to do a little better than next season. We just want to make the playoffs. When did it click for you that you might have a really good team on your hands? Was it in preseason? Were you surprised by your win streak to kick off 2026?
No, I think I wasn't surprised at all. This group is hungry, and you can tell when you're on a team that could do something really special. There's just a different feel. Everyone's pushing towards the same goal, and that's exactly how it feels here. Everyone's ready to learn and willing to learn and take on board all of the information that's thrown at us and ask questions and, also have each other's backs in the tough moments too. So I'm not surprised at all. And I'm really happy that, you know, some of our players are really shining and doing their thing out there. So it's really cool to see, you know, the fruits of, I guess, our labor.
Now, before we look ahead to this coming weekend, that'll be my final question. We always like to get to know our guests a little bit off the field. You're from Birmingham, Alabama. You've also spent time, as we said, in Europe, in Kentucky, and also on the East Coast. I think it's fair to say that all of those are pretty different from Greater LA. When you're not on the training pitch, how do you like to spend your time here? Do you have any favorite places, activities, and maybe something you've discovered recently that you can share with people?
Yeah, I really love LA, honestly. Well, LA to me used to be Lower Alabama, so it's a big change. No, I'm just playing. I really love LA. I love the beaches, the weather. I'm definitely an outdoors person. So I just got my dog here, so I'm super excited to be able to explore, you know, not just the beaches with him, but the trails and everything you can do. LA is such a dog-friendly city. But I grew up going to the lake and on the water, so being by the water is a dream. I'm also a big coffee person, so on off days I love to go and try a new coffee shop, get some good brunch. Yeah, this style of life is pretty nice out here.
I agree. That's why I'm here. I came here from Germany, so it was a big change for me. And yeah, the rest is history. I've been here for 15 years. I hear what you're saying. Let's get to the final question. As I said, obviously, I can't let you go without looking ahead real quick to Sunday at home against Portland. This is I would say an early 6-pointer, given that the Thorns have also had a strong start to their season. They sit right above you in the table with, you guys have a game in hand, as I said. What stands out to you about Portland in early 2026, and what do you expect from this matchup?
Yeah, I think, you know, they got Sophia Wilson back, which is huge for them. She's a great player who poses a lot of threats. I think Olivia Moultrie is a young star, as we've seen. And I think, you know, just in terms of tactics, they have a new coach as well who's implementing his structure and tactics on the game. And you can see they have a certain style that they want to play. And historically, Portland is a really good club. So we respect them, and we're doing, you know, everything we can to implement ourselves on that game.
Amazing. Well, we'll be rooting for you on Sunday. You mentioned how much fun it is to see the players around you shine. It's been a joy for us to see you shine for Angel City. So hopefully that continues for a long time. And again, happy birthday. Thank you so much again for making time. Nealy Martin of Angel City. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, and look at that, through the magic of editing, it's no longer Nealy Martin, but Cara Lang Romero is back with us once again, and we're going to talk some international duty for some of these Angel City players. And look, we touched on Emily Sams and Giselle Thompson in terms of how well they were playing with the U.S. women's national team for the first 2 matches against Japan. Well, I believe best match that they had played in quite a while, in a big 3-0 win over Japan to round out that 3-match series. Giselle Thompson, who, oh, by the way, was sitting several rows behind us in Founders Club at BMO Stadium for the match tonight. They put her and Casey Fair up on the board there. It was nice to see them both there. Started and played the first 63 minutes, did everything that she needed to do to help keep that clean sheet. Emily Sams, unfortunately, an unused sub. But more importantly, what we saw in those 3 matches, right, is kind of iron sharpening iron, U.S. women's national team and Japan. I mean, those are 2 clubs. They're two countries that if we said we're playing in the Women's World Cup final, nobody would bat an eyelash over those 2. So can you talk a little bit more, Cara, about the emergence of Giselle Thompson and just who she has become, especially since maybe getting out of her sister's shadow, who's doing so well over in Chelsea?
Yeah, I'm mentioning her getting out from under her sister's shadow, I think was important. That's exactly where my mind went as soon as you mentioned her name, is that's exactly what she's been doing. She's really coming into her own, developing into her own kind of dangerous threat as that wing back. And becoming a leader. She looks more like a veteran than a rookie on this Angel City team. And I think a lot of that is due to the experience she's getting with the U.S. women's national team. It is absolutely paramount, to have the opportunity to play with the players that she is and to just be in training day in and day out while in camp with the women's national team. You definitely absorb so much in that environment. And then just playing against teams like Japan in international friendlies. There's nothing like an international friendly or an international match, friendly or tournament, whatever it may be. It's just another level up, another level of intensity, another level of fitness required. I can tell you that the amount of fatigue that I felt after putting on the badge representing my country was completely different. No matter how important a club game was or a college game was, there's just something different about playing internationally. It would make me feel physically ill because you put so much out there and what's asked of you is so intense. And so I think you come back out of that environment into your club team, and the rest of your team then feeds off of that kind of energy. And for sure that her teammates were watching those games when they had the opportunity, cheering her on. So that's also really cool to experience as well. And they're definitely rooting her on. But yeah, it's just been great to see the trajectory of Giselle Thompson, especially now that she is really like her own player and her own person on this Angel City team. And her upside is just absolutely massive. It's only going to get better for her.
Yeah, she's an incredible talent right here in the Southland as well. Congrats to Casey Fair scoring a first half stoppage time goal in a 1-1 draw with Zambia. So Casey Fair continuing to get minutes and production for the South Korean women's national team, not necessarily for Angel City. Svandis Jonsdottir, who played the full 90 in a 1-0 loss to England. But I'm saving one match for last because I know this one will be near and dear to Cara. It was a rough match for the Canadian women when they took on Brazil, a 1-0 win for Brazil. But Ari Borges didn't get to stick around for the end of it, unfortunately. Got her first yellow in the 78th, and just 3 minutes later got her second. Miara News barely played that one, came on in the 89th. But we know Ari to be a little bit of a hot-tempered player, someone who's picked up a red card or two before. How important is it that she figures out how to play with fire, but maybe to keep some of that in her back pocket?
That's it. It's a very fine line. And that fire, that spiciness about Ari Borges is what we love about her. One of my best friends, actually, Carmelina Moscato, was her manager at Louisville. And when she came to Angel City, that's the first thing she said, is she needs to harness that spice. And clearly, she's still got some work to do in that area. Yeah. But I think that above anything, it's a positive if she can find a way to walk that line. And I have a feeling that part of it is just, as I mentioned, the intensity of that international level. And I feel like Alex Strauss has a good handle on his players. He seems to really have a lot of control within that group. And I have a feeling that he wouldn't let that fly. So I don't expect to see it to that degree with Angel City. But again, I won't be surprised, because I was not surprised to see her out with 2 yellows in this match either.
Yeah, quick succession in those two as well. And look, a big match coming up, April 26th. Angel City going to be hosting Sophia Wilson, Olivia Moultrie, who, we talk about, Cara, how young you were when you were scoring goals for the Canadian women. Moultrie I feel like she's been in the league since she was a young teenager as well. Big match coming up for them against the Portland Thorns.
Yeah, it's a huge match, because this Portland Thorns is a team that we knows how to win. And you mentioned Olivia Moultrie. She's the player that I would be looking out for first and foremost. She's got 4.5 years in the league at 21 already. Again, another young player who looks and plays like a veteran at this point in her career. She's got 3 goals and an assist so far in the season for Portland. 78% passing rate, which is impressive. So much for Portland goes through Moultrie. So she will be the player that Angel City will be looking to shut down, and the one to watch out for sure, as well as Petra Torden. She's 21 too. So this is a young Portland team. She's notched 2 goals so far this season, a U.S. youth national team player, big threat. And of course, Sophia Wilson, who is now back in full force, started a game for the women's national team, the superstar on the U.S. women's national teams. And she'll always be a threat no matter what. So Angel City will definitely have their hands full this weekend with Portland. But they can tie or surpass Portland with a win. And then they've got weekly games coming up until the World Cup break in June. So it's a busy schedule ahead, but what I'm most impressed with about this Angel City team right now is that when they give up a goal, they don't stop pushing. They don't let games slip away like they have in past seasons, 2025, 2024. They're able to reset and respond quickly. And so I don't worry that if Portland, with all the firepower that they have in the attack, if Portland goes up early, I don't worry that Angel City will sort of let it slip away after that. So I think that it'll be a hard-fought match.
Yeah, and look, we're going to have Cara on for all of those weekly Angel City matches. Cara Lang-Romero, thank you so much for, again, joining us here on Soccer in 60. All right, so welcome to the scarf portion of your episode here on Soccer in 60. Normally, we've got Tim Kolach, the OG OCSC superfan, but unfortunately, you're stuck with the scarf now. Here we go. I was in the building for the 0-0 draw with Lexington SC when Orange County Soccer Club was celebrating Gnarly's birthday. And if you don't know who Gnarly is and you're watching us here, here's a sticker of Gnarly's head. He's their mascot over there in Orange County Soccer Club, and everybody was happy. Wild Wing from the Anaheim Ducks was down there to help Gnarly celebrate his birthday. The only thing is, nobody told Orange County Soccer Club to celebrate Gnarly's birthday with any goals because this one was a rough one to watch. In front of what they said was about 4,000 people in the stands. I'm not so sure that didn't actually just represent tickets sold. This one was stuck in the mud for most of the match. And unfortunately, maybe the best moment of the night was the young U.S. youth national teamer, Jameer Johnson, by far the best opportunity of the night for Orange County Soccer Club. It came in the first 2 minutes. Look, we've talked an awful lot about Alex Rando and how good he's been between the pipes for Orange County Soccer Club. This one, they could have had me between the pipes. Lexington, I was excited because I was going down there, full disclosure, to see Latif Blessing, the former Los Angeles Football Club player who is now trying to figure out his way back up the American pyramid with Lexington SC. He did eventually come in with about 25 minutes to go, so it was great to see Latif back playing soccer in the Southland. But there wasn't much to talk about in this match, unfortunately. Lexington provided almost no resistance over the course of the full 90 minutes for Orange County Soccer Club, but Orange County couldn't figure out a way to get one through and didn't challenge much at all. And to be perfectly honest, the atmosphere was a little dead at times there at the Champ down at Great Park down in Irvine, if not for a couple of times right before and after halftime. And then there was Orange County. You could really feel the in-stadium atmosphere. They were trying to ramp things up with about 5 minutes left, but it just wasn't meant to be. So unfortunately, a 0-0 draw for the, at the time, first place Orange County Soccer Club. And they've got a fun one coming up. They've got the USL Cup first group stage match of the year. I believe it used to be called the Jägermeister Cup. I'm not sure if it's called that or not anymore, but it'll be Star Wars night down at the Champ Saturday, April 25th against El Paso Locomotive. And if you are listening to this show and you are an Orange County Soccer Club supporter, let me just say, get down there to the Champ. Orange County Soccer Club is averaging the 21st highest attendance out of the 25 USL championship clubs. And this is a club that wants to expand to 15,000 seats so they can be part of that pro-rel experiment down there in the USL. So if you're listening to this, go ahead and check out tickets for Star Wars night down at the Champ Saturday, April 25th versus the El Paso Locomotive. It's the first USL Cup group stage match and it'll be fun. So get out there to champ. You can tell Gnarly that you missed his birthday, but you were sent by the scarf, and now you're there to celebrate Star Wars night. So with that, normally this is the most contentious segment of the evening, but it's a solo scarf endeavor on this one. So I get to walk you through the best 11 this week. And of course the best 11 performances by position for all of the matches that were played this last week. And I want to prep you right now. There's going to be 5 members of the Galaxy, 4 for LAFC and 2 for the Orange County Soccer Club. This one captained by Joseph Paintsel for his performance against Dallas. For the Galaxy, Gabriel Peck right there on the front line with him as well for his performances for both Dallas and Columbus. In the midfield, it's Lucas Sanabria and Edwin Cerrillo for their performances for the Galaxy against Dallas. LAFC's performances against Colorado are what landed Marky Mark Delgado and Matthew Chouanier in the midfield for LAFC. Garrison Tubbs and Nico Ben Alcazar anchoring the back line for Orange County and their clean sheet against Lexington. Eddie Segura for LAFC against Colorado. John Nelson for the Galaxy at Dallas. And Ugo back between the pipes once again for his shutout performance once again. That is his 8th, I believe, clean sheet of the season for that 0-0 draw against Colorado. And one player I want to bring up for sure early in this one is a player who we saw sub on in Galaxy's last match, John Nelson. He got there for his performance on the defense for Galaxy at Dallas, but he also helped out tonight in a big way because Julian Aude, as you heard Ananda talk about, Julian Aude is going to be out for a little bit. He had to sub out early there about the 21st minute, and it's going to have to be a player like John Nelson who steps up for Greg Vanney's side. We know they're looking to keep balls out of the back of the net in the worst way right now, and losing a player like Julian Aude is not going to be easy. But I also want to give kudos to Orange County Soccer Club's pair on that back line, Nico Benalcazar and Garrison Tubbs. It was a truly mediocre offensive performance by Lexington Soccer Club. And I'm telling you right now, because of Nico Benalcazar and Garrison Tubbs, they rendered that Lexington offense absolutely mute. So a great job for those two on the back line. And again, being able to see Joseph Paintsel come back with a goal and an assist for the Galaxy at Dallas, that was a big performance to get from the Ghanaian national teamer. That being said, thank you all for joining us here on Soccer in 60. A big thank you to everybody involved with today's episode, of course, for Ananda and for Kara, and our great interview guest as well, Nealy Martin. Thank you so much for joining us here on Soccer in 60. And don't forget, join us every week as we recap all the great soccer action all around the Southland. And once again, this has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. We will see you